Hello, hi, if you're new, welcome. My name is Sameera. I promise I don't sound like this all the time. My lovely son has had a viral infection and decided to share that with me. So that's why I sound like this. Um, so today is the final part of the series of my recent diagnosis. So if you've missed the previous videos, feel free to go check them out. The first one's on bipolar, in particular bipolar type 2. The second one's on emotionally unstable personality disorder, which is also known as borderline personality disorder. And today is about eating disorders. So my diagnosis was an eating disorder not otherwise specified. So before I jump into the video, please feel free to like, comment, share and subscribe, and I will jump straight into the video. So an eating disorder not otherwise specified is shortened to EDNOS, so I'll use EDNOS for this video. That's applied when symptoms are causing significant distress, but they don't quite meet the criteria for anorexia, binge eating or bulimia. So an eating disorder is when you have an unhealthy attitude to food, and it can take over your life and make you feel really, really unwell. So it can involve eating too much, too little, becoming obsessed with your weight and your body shape and kind of how you look. So men and women can experience eating disorders, but it's most common in young women aged between 13 to 17. So the common eating disorders are anorexia nervosa. So that's when you try to keep your weight down as low as possible. So whether that's eating too little, whether that's exercising a lot or doing both to keep your weight down, that's anorexia nervosa. Bulimia is when you sometimes lose control and you eat a lot of food in a short space of time, so that's binge eating, but then you deliberately make yourself sick or take laxatives, or you can restrict what you eat all to keep your weight low, and try and stop yourself gaining weight. And then you have the binge eating disorder, which is when you regularly lose control of your eating habits and you eat a lot of food until you feel uncomfortable, like uncomfortably full, and then you end up feeling upset or guilty about it. And then EDNOS is when you may have some of those symptoms of an eating disorder, but not all of them, so you don't quite fit the criteria. So EDNOS is actually the most common eating disorder. Then is the binge eating disorder, then is bulimia, and anorexia is actually the least common eating disorder. So symptoms of an eating disorder can be spending a lot of time worrying about your weight and your body shape and how you look. It can be avoiding socialising, especially when food's involved. It can be eating very little portions of food. It can be deliberately making yourself sick or taking laxatives to help you go to the toilet, to stop you from gaining weight. It could be you exercising too much. It could be having very strict habits or routines around food. So one of my old strict habits that thankfully I don't have anymore, was that I hated food touching. Like if food touched each other, I wouldn't eat it. So I had an autistic plate, because they've got sections like on the plate. So say I had a roast dinner, my meat would be in one section, my carrots would be in another section, potatoes in another section, and so on and so on, to stop them from touching. I don't really know why that was. I felt like the food's contaminated, it changed the texture, the taste, and so I just didn't like them touching, whereas now just lob all my food on a plate and it doesn't matter. And then you may have changes in your mood as well. There are physical signs as well of having an eating disorder. So if you feel cold a lot, tired or dizzy, if you have problems with your digestive system, if your weight's very high or very low for someone of your age and height. And then for women, you may not get your period, you may have irregular periods, you may have your periods and then they might stop. or they're just irregular. So that's also some physical signs of an eating disorder as well. Warning signs to look out for. So if you think you may have an eating disorder, or if you are a family, a friend, a loved one, and you're worried someone might have an eating disorder, the signs to look out for is dramatic weight loss or weight gain. If they lie about how much they've eaten, when they've eaten, and even their weight. If they are going to the toilet after having a meal and coming back and they're looking quite flushed in the face, that could indicate that maybe they've purged, and purge means bringing back up your food. If they are excessively or obsessively exercising, so excessively means a lot, obsessively means that you are obsessed with exercising. If they avoid eating with others, if they cut their food into very, very small pieces, or they eat their food very slowly, and if they wear baggy clothes to try and help disguise weight loss. So the hardest thing for me having an eating disorder was admitting there's a problem. So I feel like until you've admitted that you have a problem with food, you're not going to get the help you need, because you don't want the help because you don't think there's a problem. And that was the hardest part, and it probably took me 10 years to admit that I had a problem with food. And despite going to all these places to try and get help, because I didn't think there was a problem, I wasn't really bothered about getting the help. There is a charity called Beat, and they specialise in eating disorders, and they have a helpline for adults and for youth as well. So if you do think like you're struggling or you need somebody to talk to, then please feel free to reach out to them. Also, please speak to your family, your friends, your GP, or if you'd like to contact me, then by all means, and get help, because it's one of the biggest killers, and it's horrible, and it's lonely when you have an eating disorder. So what causes eating disorders? Again, as most mental health illnesses, not really sure what the cause is. If you or a family member has a history of eating disorders, depression, alcohol abuse, or drug abuse, then you're more likely to have an eating disorder. If you've been criticised for your eating habits, your body shape, or your weight, then you might be more likely to suffer from an eating disorder. So on that point, please be careful with how you comment on people, on the way they look and their weight, because it can form serious mental illnesses, and it can cause people to be really, really unwell. If you're overly concerned with being slim, so particularly if you feel pressure from maybe like a job or a sport that you do, so maybe like ballet dancing or modelling, and things like that. And you may also be more likely if you have anxiety, low self-esteem, an obsessive personality, or you're a perfectionist, then that can make you more likely to develop an eating disorder. And also if you've been sexually assaulted, you might be more likely to develop an eating disorder. So that's the end of this series. That's all I really have to talk about today. If you have any questions, then obviously feel free to leave them below or message me on Facebook or whatever. And if there's any subjects you want me to cover, then also feel free to let me know. But thank you for watching my video. Like I said, please feel free to like, share, comment and subscribe. And I will be posting once a week every Wednesday. So stay tuned for the next video. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.